This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
You know, I had a friend who worked at the Boston Globe. I used to have a lot of friends who worked at the Boston Globe when it was a actual newspaper and it wasn't a far left rag that just pushes woke garbage that nobody reads. But a few years ago, I asked him, what happened? What happened on the Globe that that people used to respect and read and had real writers and real journalism? And he said, I don't know. He'd been there years and years. He said, I don't know. We are now run by 5 gay guys from Yale. Now, he said 5 29-year-old gay guys from Yale, and they obviously drove the paper into the ground, whoever they are. I don't know if that's true, but it makes sense. I think we have a similar situation in the country right now. I think the last 4 years, the country obviously has been run into the ground, and it's been run into the ground by some real crazy left-wing lunatics. To quote Donald Trump, we don't think at this point, nobody believes Joe Biden was running the country. We've moved on from the scandals of his dementia and his cancer. And so much of what the Biden administration has lied to us about for the last 4 years, we've moved on to a new topic, and it seems kind of important. Who the hell was running the country? After you heard the audio tapes from the Her interview, again, from October 2023, almost a year and a half before he left office, nobody can hear those tapes. Nobody can hear that man rambling, stammering, stumbling, lying, and think that he was on top of anything. Nobody can think that he signed legislation, that he issued pardons, that he was on top of the war in Ukraine, that he was on the ball when we had our disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, costing the lives of 13 service members and injuring another 40 or so, leading to the deaths of 150 civilians. The man in charge that day was not lucid. We know that. Seems like kind of a big deal at this point. Seems like something we should not be ready to move on from. This is a scandal. I know. Stop me if you've heard this one before. The Biden 4-year Biden term is full of scandals. We've never seen anything like it. I mean, one scandal after another, one lie after another. There was nothing on the level about this lawless regime. This could be the worst of all. I know, I've said it before. This is incredible when you see all the things they did for 4 years, including opening the border, including sending $300 billion to Ukraine. You ask yourself first, why'd they do that? And then you have to ask, who did it? Why they did it has been a question we've been wrestling with for 4 years. But now we have a new one, and it's kind of important. Who did it? Who did it? The man we heard on those Her tapes? The man we saw wandering off into the Brazilian rainforest? The man who was shaking hands with invisible people? Who was giving a shout out to a Democrat congresswoman who just died? That guy? The guy we saw stumbling up the stairs, falling down at Air Force Academy? The guy we now know was suffering from stage 4 cancer and was probably being treated for it, which affected his brain and his cognitive abilities. We're supposed to believe he was in charge, that he issued more than 1,000 pardons and commutations, that he issued commutations for 37 men on death row, including a man who murdered 12 people, including 4 children. That guy was on death row. Joe Biden signed the deal to take him off death row. Did he know what he was doing? Of course not. Of course he didn't know what he was doing. That's not even disputable at this point. Here it is. And once again, Donald Trump is kind of going there. He is fixating on the autopen now. And sometimes Trump says things and you say, that's a little wacky, when he talked about the Gulf of America or taking over Greenland or starting the Space Force in his first term. You say, All right, that's a little nutty. That's Trump just kind of talking out loud, thinking out loud. I have a feeling it's more than that. I have a feeling in this case, like in many cases, Trump knows something. He knows what kind of scandal this is. He knows all those pardons. Hell, all that legislation, it's not legitimate. It can't be legitimate. We've seen the guy who signed it. He was not aware of what he was doing. That's clear. We're going to get to Jake Tapper's book because, again, I have mixed feelings. I hate this guy, Jake Tapper, and I'm enjoying watching him squirm in some of these interviews, but he is on to something. They are on to something. They are raising the questions, and everyone else is going there because the big question is, who was president? Who the hell was president? Here's Trump yesterday when he went over to Capitol Hill to sell the big, beautiful new bill, which isn't so beautiful, but we'll get to that. But talking about the autopen and asking a really good question. If Joe Biden actually did these things, if he signed these pardons, if he opened the border, what happened to Joe Biden? He didn't used to be a radical leftist. He wasn't for open borders. He was a tough on crime senator. He was a moderate. He was sensible. He was common sense. And suddenly he ascends to the highest office and he turns into friggin' Cornel West. How did that happen? Here's Trump.
You found out and find out what happened because Biden, look, it's a very sad thing what happened, but we're going to start looking into this whole thing with who signed this legislation. Who signed legislation opening our border? I don't think he knew. I said there's nobody that would want an open border. Nobody. And now I find out that it wasn't him. He auto-penned it. Who was operating the auto-pen? This is a very serious thing. We had a president that didn't sign anything. He auto-penned almost everything. He opened the borders of the United States of America. And I kept saying, who would do such a thing? Allowing criminals to pour in from all over the world, not just South America, all over the world. They came in from Africa, they came in from Asia, they came from the Congo. The prisons in the Congo in Africa, these are rough people. The prisons from the Congo are empty. You know where they are? They're in this country. Who would sign this? Nobody would sign it. No sane person would sign it. You know who signed it? Radical left lunatics that were running our country, and the autopen signed it. And they didn't want him, and they were disappointed in getting him because they wanted Bernie Sanders. And then after about 2 weeks, they said, wait a minute, this is a gift. He'll do anything. We're going to use the autopen. And they used the autopen and everything. He didn't approve this stuff because when Joe Biden was with it, he would never have approved it. You take a look. He would have never approved open borders.
Bingo. Bingo. This is the next big story. This is it. And Trump knows it. He knows Joe Biden was nothing but a puppet. And it sounds, like no big deal. Just glibly throw it out there. Yeah, he's a puppet. It's kind of important when you consider the damage they did to the country. We need to know who did it. I got a whole list here of people who were the powers behind the throne. Most of them you've never heard of. We need to see them, meet them, bring them before Congress, subpoena them, and ask them, did you do this? Are you the open borders fanatic? Are you the soft on crime guy? Are you the big Ukraine guy? Because this wasn't Joe Biden. I don't even think it was Jill Biden. She was there just pushing her husband on stage and abusing the poor old man. Hunter Biden was involved. But most of these people, these craven, these venal, vile people, you don't know them. We need to know them. Here's Trump posting, I believe, last night, because the man never rests, on True Social. He mentions that he writes, Joe Biden was not for open borders. He never talked about open borders where criminals of all kinds, shapes, and sizes can flow into our country at will. It wasn't his idea to open the border. The Joe Biden that everybody knew would never allow drug dealers, gang members, and the mentally insane to come into our country totally unchecked and unvetted. All anyone has to do is look up his records. Something very severe should happen to these treasonous thugs that wanted to destroy our country but couldn't because I came along. I know that's Trump, that's crazy Trump there, but that's Trump who is onto something. This is not just something that popped into his head. They know there is a massive scandal here, and it gets worse. Tim Burchett, who's one of my favorite members of Congress from Tennessee, the guy in the Carhartt coat, who's just a good old boy from Tennessee, he went on with Benny Johnson yesterday, and Tim Burchett just casually mentions that these pardons we talked about, and we're talking by far the most ever that a president has issued. Again, 37 men taken off Trump off death row, thousands of pardons. We went over it when he did it. The judges that sold, that took kickbacks from a juvenile detention center in Philadelphia to send kids to prison. They got thousands of dollars, and some of those kids killed themselves in Pennsylvania. That guy was let out. A couple of them. Biden let them go. How about the preemptive pardons? Something we never heard of for not just Hunter, but for Dr. Fauci and Adam Schiff and Liz Cheney and Mark Milley. They got preemptive pardons. Was that Joe Biden? We know the Hunter Biden was. By the way, the analysis of the signature, which is amazing, it's the same signature on all the pardons except one. He signed Hunter's pardon. He didn't sign 1,000 pardons. They used the autopen. He is right. These, perhaps, we don't know, might not be legitimate. These pardons might not stand, which would be just amazing and just awesome to see. Somebody tell Fauci, sorry, doctor, sorry, Tony, you haven't been pardoned. But check out how what Tim Burchett thinks happened with this this explosion of pardons from the White House one day. Listen to this.
About child sex trafficking. I mean, that happens because of an open border, 25 million, many hundreds of thousands of children because of Joe Biden. Now we learned that Joe Biden had terminal illness the entire time he was in office. Maybe this was what all of the vacations, 577 days on vacation. Perhaps he was getting cancer treatment. We have had doctors on the program all yesterday saying all of Joe Biden's activities, the weakness, the falling, the fog, the brain fog, that's because of cancer medication. They were hiding this from the American people. What should happen to the people who hid this from us? Are Joe Biden's acts constitutional? What's your measure on Jill Biden?
Well, that'll be decided at the courts, but I'm sure we'll write somebody a strong letter and move on about it. I don't think anybody really brought to justice over this. You've got staffers. I would look. Tennessee has had a history of this. We had a governor several governors ago. He's since passed away, but he sold pardons. You can look it up. His name was Ray Blanton. It made national news, and I mean they wrote songs, "Pardon Me, Ray," and it was a cash for clemency deal. And that's exactly what I think you're going to find out. You're going to find staffers that were able to take forms, get them, and run them through some sort of bogus legal system, and then they auto-pinned them. And there's probably people out on the street that shouldn't be, but somebody got rich off that. And wow. and I think those people, I hate to say it, but you'll see something probably horrible happen to some of those people because it goes up the chain. This is a very dangerous town to play games in.
So you're
that is a member of Congress saying these Biden people, the behind the scenes, these puppet masters were selling pardons. That's his theory. And he's probably right. They'll send an angry letter, a strong statement, and not pursue it because they're Republicans and they just don't do that. They don't fight dirty like Democrats, but damn, they should. All these people should be called before Congress. Here it is. This is from the Times of London, of course. I don't think the Times of New York is doing this, but they give you the list of the people who were probably running your country for the last 4 years and the kind of people they are. They start with this guy, Mike Donlin, a longtime advisor to Biden. He's known him for more than 40 years. I have been reading about this guy. I've never even seen him. He lays low. The pair was so close that the joke that Donlin's hold over the president was strong enough that if he wanted, he could get Biden to start a war. That's from one source. He served as chief strategist for Biden's successful campaign in 2020, and he planned to do the same last year for the right price. The authors, I believe we're talking about Tapper and Alex Thompson here, report that to leave the White House and advise the 2020 campaign, Donilon wanted approximately $4 million. The president told his campaign, pay Mike what he wants. That's top of the list. This guy who wanted $4 million to work on the 2024 campaign, just like everyone in Biden's inner circle. The man was just a money grubbing creep. Number two, Steve Ricchetti, Biden's gatekeeper, worked closely with him since 2012. Ricchetti was Biden's chief aide when his oldest son was diagnosed with cancer. All four of Ricchetti's children ended up taking jobs in the Biden administration. I've never seen this guy. Apparently, he's behind the scenes chief of staff, ex-chief of staff, Ron Klain, another slime ball. Bruce Reed, longtime Biden backer. He served as chief of staff for as vice president, led on policy. In a sign of how close they are, Reed's daughter worked as Biden's day scheduler. Another guy, Anthony Bernal, when Biden and Jill decamped to Wilmington during COVID, he was in charge of keeping him in the basement. He was running things down there. These are people who were making the big decisions, who opened the border, who decided to pull out of Afghanistan, who decided to fund the war in Ukraine, who issued all these pardons. How do we let this drop? I mean, we know now it's even Jake Tapper is admitting that the man in the White House was not in control. How is this not the biggest scandal we've ever seen, we've ever heard? How do we not call them all before Congress? How do we not get answers? Think of the things that Biden did while in office, and tell me if a moderate from Delaware would have been on board. Ban offshore drilling, spend $74 billion on climate change legislation, issue $4.23 billion in student debt relief, give temporary protected status to more than 1 million illegal aliens from Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. Does that sound like any moderate Democrat would do that? Now, maybe Democrat Party followed his lead and went nuts. But these are radical, crazy things that you expect from Ayanna Pressley or Liz Warren or Bernie Sanders. As Trump said, this isn't what you expected from Joe Biden. And the damage, as we've mentioned, is just unfathomable. So we need to know who did this to our country. Susan Rice, Barack Obama, Jill Biden, Hunter Biden. Yes, Hunter Biden had a role advising his father in the White House. We'll get to that because that's my favorite part of Jake Tapper's Truth About the Lies. There was a book a few years ago called The Truth About the Lies. That should be the title of Jake Tapper's book. Original Sin's a stupid title. Truth About the Lies, because Jake is coming clean. And I'm telling you, in some of these interviews, in his interview with Megyn Kelly, Eden Alexander looked better when he got out of captivity from Gaza after 580 days. Eden looked stronger and healthier than Jake did in the beatdown he took from Megyn Kelly. And he's on tour. And I got to say, he's going to make a lot of money. It wasn't worth it. Jake Tapper sold his soul. Jake Tapper is a laughingstock. He's a rich laughingstock. He's out there on the interview circuit, and he is cashing in, but I don't think he ever recovers. At least that's what I'm telling myself, because I hate the guy, but I'm not sure he's ever going to recover the beatdown he's taken on this interview circuit. We will get to the highlights and lowlights, and we got some amazing sound. I watch these hearings. Trump's people are so good at this. Every day I go back and forth on who my favorite Trump appointment is. One day it's Tom Homan, Stephen Miller, Caroline Leavitt. Yesterday was Marco Rubio's day. What a performance on Capitol Hill from Marco Rubio. We'll get to that. But first,
Excuse me.
If you're still tossing and turning all night and feeling edgy during the day, let me tell you about CBD from CB Distillery. Millions are turning to their CBD for relief because it works. In fact, over 90% of customers report better sleep with CBD. And it's not just sleep. CB Distillery offers targeted formulations for just about everything: sleep, stress, mood and focus, pain after exercise. I got that too. They even have CBD for pets, and it's all made from the highest quality, clean ingredients, no fillers, just premium CBD. I've been taking it for sleep for the last couple of weeks, and it's been amazing, sleeping like a rock. With over 2 million satisfied customers and a 100% money-back guarantee, CB Distillery is the source to trust. If you're struggling with sleep, stress, or other health concerns and haven't found relief, make the change, like millions have, to CBD from CB Distillery. And for a limited time, you could save 25% off your entire purchase. Visit CB Distillery and use promo code Callahan. That's cbdistillery.com, promo code Callahan. You know, before we get to Jake, I'm fascinated by this jailbreak in New Orleans. They've now caught, I believe last night, they caught the 5th of the 10 inmates who escaped a New Orleans jail. It was the 6th day that they were on the run. And you know how this all unfolds. They got help. Of course, there's a maintenance man who's been detained because he turned off the water to that toilet they ripped out, and they went out the hole that behind the toilet and just ran for it. You're saying, in a weird way, you kind of root for them at first because you want to see the chase. And all I think about is get Tommy Lee Jones on the case, get his whole crew on the case. They'll get him, but they're doing okay. We need body cam footage. Here's what we need as they chase down these 10 guys. The guy they got yesterday, Corey Boyd, he's 19 years old. He fled New Orleans Justice Center while being held on charges of secondary attempted murder, aggravated battery, and threatening a public official, a real bad guy. And they grabbed him. Now he's facing another charge of simple escape. That means 5 have been captured, 5 are still on the run. I want cameras. I want people on the scene as they kick in the doors like they do in The Fugitive. I love The Fugitive. So that's kind of what I picture it as it's going down. And of course, they point out just how dysfunctional the whole correction system is in New Orleans, what a mess it is, and how you can just rip out a toilet and make a run for it. What if one of them just never gets captured? He'll become a folk hero. Hopefully it's some guy who was just in jail for drunk driving or something and not mass murder. But we will see. Speaking of murder, Jake Tapper, I knew this would be good. It was even better than I expected. Megyn Kelly is so good at this. Jake and his co-author, Alex Thompson, who just kind of tails along like a puppy as Jake takes his beating. And I guess he has to do these interviews. I guess, money's important to him. But as I'm watching, I'm thinking, Jake is asking himself, was it worth it? Jake sold his soul. Jake sold out. And I'm not sure he ever recovers. Obviously, he's taken fire from both sides. Obviously, the far left hates him because he's exposing the corruption, the lies from the Biden administration, the far right, the middle, whatever. Normal people look at him and say, where you been? His whole campaign, this whole publicity campaign he's on, this tour, is based on one big lie, that he didn't know any of this for 4 years, 5 years, say since 2019, as we talked about it every day, showed you the video every day. Ironhead's job was to get Biden gaffes every day. We had a segment essentially every day with Biden gaffes. It was a daily thing for years, how bad this guy was, what bad shape he was in. Hell, the Hunter Biden laptop, on the laptop. I'm not sure everyone remembers this, but I saw the Marco Polo guy who put the whole thing together, made a book, who just dug deep into the laptop. He had on the laptop, Hunter Biden, to his shrink, who was Keith Abloh, told him that Joe had dementia. It was on the laptop, and these guys reported it 5 years ago. And Jake Tapper, that newsman, that journalist, just didn't know. He just didn't see. And he famously or infamously attacked Laura Trump for pointing out that Joe is a mess. that Joe can't put a sentence together. And he went right at her and said, oh, you don't know that. You're not a doctor. And now he's apologizing for that. But go back to the original clip. This is good. This is a long one. But just look at Jake Tapper as he takes his beating and thinks to himself, was it worth it? I'm not sure. I don't know how much money he's going to make. I'm sure he already has plenty of money. I'm not sure he ever recovers from this, even if he sells 1 million copies of this stupid book. Go ahead.
I did ask Joe Biden to be transparent about his health records in an interview in 2020. I did ask him about the fact that voters
then he wasn't.
thought that he was not transparent at all. No,
he promised you that he would be transparent about his health records, and then he wasn't. And when you sat with him again,
at all.
including 1 month after the Jackie Walorski thing, you didn't ask him about it. You didn't follow up on the fact that he was falling up the stairs, that he was losing his train of thought regularly, that he was slurring, that he was incomprehensible, that he was getting lost on the White House lawn. You sat right across from him and you asked none of that, notwithstanding the fact that he had promised you he would be fully transparent about his health issues. You know as well as I do that there's a way of, you can say, hey, there's this poll on your age, or you could say, you just forgot that Jackie Walorski was dead. You asked where she was moments after watching a videotape tribute to her. You lowered the flags at the White House after she died. This happened 13 days before you sat with him. There is a way of pressing a man like that on the actual infirmities to bring it home to him and to the audience, and you didn't do it. It wasn't just that. I mean, you sat with him a couple of times in the course of his presidency, and these issues were not pressed. Well, there was at least that time, and then there was the time at the beginning. And but separate and apart from that, you covered the Biden's presidency. No. Let me just finish my point. You covered the Biden presidency.
I had one
okay, right. And it was 13 days after the Jackie Walorski thing. But you covered the Biden presidency aggressively throughout the 4 years, and you didn't cover mental acuity hardly at all. I mean, time and time again, when issues came up, you seemed to be running cover for the president. You didn't seem interested. Do you want to apologize to Lara Trump now?
I've already apologized to her. I called her months ago.
I feel angry because she was right. And not only did you not allow her to make her comments, but you seemed to try to humiliate her. You had a hostility toward the position, but she was totally right. And then you lectured her on how she was in no position to diagnose cognitive decline, which you guys do at length, including on page 4 of your book. You describe at length his cognitive decline, which is all she tried to do with you. But you had such a visceral reaction to her.
Joe Biden has been saying stupid things for decades. Okay.
I get what you're saying, but this minimizes it too, because it was more than saying stupid things. But I'm telling you, like over here in my ecosphere, we were covering all of these. It wasn't just falling down; it was getting lost. It was some of the stuff you report in your book. We knew, and we were reporting on, like the multi-jump cuts in the videos of him, where it was obvious he couldn't get through a 1-minute take, so they had to use those. It was clear to us that he was using teleprompter, and there was some reporting on that at the time, all of which the White House was denying. Now, with the current White House, I have some connections. With the Joe Biden White House, I had none, but you did. And so while you've been in Washington 30 years, Jake, you guys, you and CNN have White House connections, but there was no effort, none to get to the bottom of this. And now for you guys to write this book, like there was a cover up. It's like there was a cover up, and there was an attempted cover up. It could only ever work if you allowed it.
Oh, that is so good. Jake, blink 3 times if you're being held against your will.
Is there something to like almost being gentler with him? Because won't it like deter others from coming forward in the future? Obviously,
it doesn't matter. I think it's going to change things. Clearly, we're not going to see another president or candidate like Joe Biden, but maybe they'll start covering the mental decline of Nancy Pelosi or Maxine Waters or maybe Bernie Sanders soon. Maybe it'll change the way we look at these 85-year-old narcissists who just...
Bernie Sanders seems pretty sharp, at least.
He does, but it's not going to last forever. You know, he's 83 and he's going nowhere. He's the biggest narcissist of them all. So Bernie's going to deteriorate in office, on camera. And I think this wakes people up. And look at the guy, Alex Thompson, just sit there. This is what he does. We'll get to an interview. He gave a solo interview, which was pretty enlightening. He's responsible as well. He covered it up as well, but he was late to the party, but he eventually in 2023 started writing about it, reporting it. Jake was in on the cover up to the end, and he knows it. He was at the debate. He was a moderator at the June 27th debate where it all blew up. And he claims, that's the day. That's the day we all learned that the guy just wasn't lucid anymore. That wasn't the day, Jake, you liar. And you know it. He knew this was coming. He signed this deal to write this book. I don't think he actually wrote it. He put his name on it. Smart move by Thompson, hooked up with Jake, got all this publicity. He's going to make a lot of money too. But he claims that was the day we all woke up and realized Joe was just not with it. He's a liar. The whole campaign, this whole tour is based on a lie. What do we got here? Is this...
This is a more detailed version of that Laura Trump.
Oh, good. Yeah, this is the Laura Trump thing. You know what? He'll never live that down. I've seen that clip now 50 times. I know you were thinking of playing it. We played it. He gets all over Laura Trump. You're not a doctor. You're making fun of a guy with a stutter. I've followed this as close as anybody over the last 6, 7, 8 years, since, every year. I never heard a stutter. It is not a stutter. He might have had a stutter when he was 12 years old. He's never had a stutter. I've seen his speeches in the Senate when he used to be able to speak. I've seen his campaign appearances from years ago when the other times he ran for president had to drop out because he was lying, because he was plagiarizing. He had lots of problems. A stutter wasn't one of them. That is a tell. If you bring up a stutter like Tapper did, or Joe Scarborough, the other clown, then you're a stooge. Then you're a shill. And that's what Jake Tapper was until he could make some real money. And he's earning it out there going on shows like this. But here's more with Megyn Kelly and fake Jake.
You covered the Biden presidency aggressively throughout the 4 years, and you didn't cover mental acuity hardly at all. I mean, time and time again, when issues came up, you seem to be running cover for the president.
I don't think interested. That's true.
Well, I mean, we'll start with the Laura Trump issue that you referred. Here it is. This happened in 2020.
Joe Biden, as we all know, has worked to overcome a stutter. How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
you are
to
no
watch somebody on stage search for
this is so
questions.
amazing.
You're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter.
Yeah,
I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline.
And it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure it was from a place of concern. We all believe that. Laura Trump, thank you so much.
Do you want to apologize to Laura Trump now?
He says he did months ago apologize to her. That was 4 years after he slandered her. And after we saw the deterioration of Joe Biden, a stutter, and you're not a doctor. I mean, I hope it was worth it, Jake. I hope it was worth it. I'm not sure you ever recover. Is this Jake on Hunter? This is amazing. Yep. Again, a reminder. The Hunter Biden laptop story broke in 2019. The FBI had the laptop in 2019. The New York Post reported it in 2020. The big tech banned it. Twitter, Facebook banned it before the election. We know it was on it. The New York Post was reporting it every day. They had their Twitter account suspended, but they were reporting it on every day, and we were talking about it. We saw videos. We saw the emails. It was the most explosive political story of our lifetime. Again, we talked about all the deals, the Burisma deal, China deal, the porn on there, the drugs, the 10% for the big guy. It was all on there. And Jake Tapper, who has a nightly show on CNN, said, wow, I just realized Hunter Biden's not a good guy. Check this out.
How big a factor was the Hunter stuff?
I think it was considerable. I think Hunter was driving the decision making for the family in a way that he was almost like a chief of staff of the family.
Does that strike you as pretty bizarre?
It's bizarre because I think he is provably, demonstrably unethical, sleazy, and prone to horrible decisions. I mean,
tell me how you really feel.
Well, I just look at the record. I mean, after his brother died, he cheated on his wife with his brother's widow and then got her addicted to crack. That's just one thing I could say. I mean, I don't have a lot of personal regard for him, and just based on having nothing to do with, I barely have ever met him. I've met him like once or twice, but I knew Bo. Bo was great, upstanding guy.
I knew him too. Really,
A real loss for the country too, not just for his family, for the country. But Hunter is not that, and the idea of letting him drive the family car, as it were, is just really, really questionable.
All right, my question is, Jake, we knew he was banging his brother's dead wife, his brother's widow, his dead brother's widow. He not only had an affair with his dead brother's widow and got her addicted to crack, and Joe Biden and Jill Biden blessed that union, he started sleeping with her sister. We all knew that. We talked about it. Jake never talked about it, not till now. He knew it. It's objective. It's documented. It was a story that he ignored because it would hurt his guy and it would help Donald Trump. That explains everything, every decision Jake Tapper's made for the last 4 years until Election Day, when, he started doing interviews on Election Day. Funny how that was. Didn't do any interviews before Election Day when he could have broken news that affected the election. And even then, he's sitting on the news till May 20th when his book comes out. Now he can tell the truth about Hunter Biden. The truth about Hunter Biden's been out there for 5 years. And this clown expects us to believe he just had a revelation, an epiphany, and realized Hunter's a bad guy. Yeah, here's Jake before and after. Before he could really make some money. And then when he wants to cash in, go ahead.
There's no evidence to support the allegation my father was financially involved in my business, because it did not happen. There's no fairness or decency in what these Republicans are doing. And I do have to say, whatever you think of Hunter Biden, and there's certainly a lot of people in this town, Democrats and Republicans, that do not think a lot of him, there is a certain kind of cruelty to the campaign against him. Where is Hunter? Where is Hunter? Where is Hunter?
Hunter was driving the decision making for the family in a way that he was almost like a chief of staff of the family.
Does that strike you as pretty bizarre?
It's bizarre because
didn't know. God, amazing. I've never seen, I have to give it some thought. I've never seen anyone sell out quite like this, quite to this extent. It is just devastating. What?
Mitt Romney, maybe?
Yeah, Mitt Romney's a good one, Ironhead. I'll give you that. He is a total sellout. And it's driven by the same thing. It is amazing, the Trump effect. They both hate Trump. Mitt used to, he met with Trump. He wanted to be Secretary of State. And then one day he didn't get the job, turned on Trump. The visceral hatred for Trump just breaks. I know that's a cliche. He breaks people. He broke Romney. He broke Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. He has broken Jake Tapper. Here's a tweet that I just retweeted from Jillian Michaels. She's good. She's a big RFK Jr. fan, big health guru. She's pretty popular. She writes, "I'm genuinely confused. How does this not obliterate every ounce of credibility anyone ever had for Jake Tapper? The man's a proven liar and a shameless hypocrite. Exhibit A, for why no one trusts the legacy media anymore. And now he's trying to cash in on Biden's decline only after Biden stopped giving him access to power. It's not just dishonest, it's disgusting." It gets better. Here's finally someone interviews Alex Thompson, and he doesn't just have to sit there like Jake's, golden retriever. He goes on News Nation and explains even the Biden team, this vile bunch of liars, couldn't believe how the media wasn't covering. The media was covering up for their senile guy in the White House. Check this out.
But when you were reporting this, did people in his inner circle, did those that you talked to acknowledge that the media, were they surprised by how complicit the media was?
It was interesting. I had one conversation with someone. This was after the election while we were reporting this book. And this person said, listen, yes, we deserve blame for X, Y, Z. We were hiding him. This person also sort of got in my face and they said, listen, the media deserves some blame too. We were sort of amazed at some of the stuff we were able to spin
and get away with
on. They in some ways,
it's like the bank robber complaining that the safe wasn't locked or something.
They're just like, you guys should not have believed us so easily. And I thought that was really interesting. But I also think that's true. I think
that is amazing. You guys shouldn't have believed us. That's what they told the author of the book you guys, you suckers, you stooges, you shills, it was easy to pull this off. That's the state of the lying legacy media, that the people lying to them can't believe how easy they were to manipulate. That is so revealing. It is just incredible. I got to give it to Jake and Alex. Man, this book is going to be a huge hit, and people are going to read it and they are going to hate the media even more than they do now, which didn't seem possible. But this is an indictment, obviously, on the Biden team. But again, it's worse for the media. The Biden team, we knew they were lying. They're supposed to lie. We knew who they were. These weren't moral, ethical people. We knew they were covering up everything, not just Joe's cognitive decline. They were covering up everything. And that's their job, essentially. The media's job is to catch them, to call them out. Jake Tapper's job was to point out that Joe Biden was in serious cognitive decline. Look at the video. Listen to him here. Listen to him there. And they didn't do it because they hate Trump. They didn't do it because they wanted him to win. They played along. They weren't the unwitting patsy. They were willing co-conspirators. And again, his hypocrisy is like off the charts. But he's indicting himself, which is fascinating. He's selling out and indicting himself, and it's just wild. All right, speaking of wild, we got to get to this Rubio hearing. He is so good at this. I love these hearings. I'm not sure if I'm more impressed with him or more just amazed at the idiocy, the stupidity, this clown, Van Hollen, again, fighting for Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia. They will never learn. And I do have some bad news. Elon Musk did a big interview, like worldwide, and he sounds defeated. Yes, it's kind of sad. We'll get to that more, but first.
Excuse me.
Have you or a loved one been injured in an accident with a commercial vehicle? Like an 18-wheeler, delivery van, bus, or rideshare, and you weren't at fault? These cases aren't like regular car accidents. They involve corporations, insurance companies, and complex transportation laws. You need an experienced attorney who knows how to fight and win. That's where Your Case Counts comes in. We connect you with top law firms that specialize in commercial vehicle accidents and have a proven track record of securing real compensation for victims just like you. The consultation is free. There are no fees unless we win. And we're here to make sure your case counts. Call 888-568-5038 now. That's 888-568-5038. Justice for commercial vehicle victims starts here. YourCaseCounts.com. No fees unless we win. YourCaseCounts.com.
I called before Congress, as well as all the people in the Politburo, Ron Klain and Jill Biden and Hunter. Dr. Kevin O'Connor. This guy's another capo in the Biden crime family. They're now saying Biden didn't test his PSA for, colon cancer since 2014. So he was vice president the last time they checked his PSA. And they say, well, we don't do it for old guys because it's slow moving. He was vice president, and then he was president. He had his personal doctor. He had a staff of 60 people for his medical needs, and didn't check his prostate. A, if that's true, that's a scandal. B, if it's not true, it's a bigger scandal, because that means this little bridge troll, this guy's like 4 feet tall. He looks like it's some Make-A-Wish thing. He was in the army, so he wears his uniform and follows the president around. It looks like they just said, let's help this poor, weird. There he is. Joe Biden's like 6 feet tall. How tall is Kevin O'Connor? 4'10"? He's like Robert Reich height. It's not the problem with the guy. The problem with the guy is he's part of the family business. He was in business with Biden's brother, scamming this whole hospital.
He's legitimately 5 feet tall.
Yeah, I mean, that's at most, right? And he was in the we need to know his role in all this. I mean, the White House doctor is not supposed to be some campaign worker. some family friend, a family business associate, but he was. And he, like all the rest of them, was lying on behalf of Joe Biden. Let's get to Marco Rubio. Today's the day I'm going to say he's the best choice. I didn't think he would be. You know why? Because he won confirmation like 99-0. And some of the Democrats, they're regretting voting to confirm him. Wouldn't have mattered. He got all the Republicans. And he is just so good at these hearings. And he's so good at the job. He knows the job. He knows the mandate. He knows the Trump doctrine. And he's, at least in his role as Secretary of State, he's following through with it. And he's taken no guff from these Democrats. He put one after another, put them in their place. He's going to be, if he wants to be president, if he wants to challenge J.D. Vance, that'll be interesting because he is riding high. I still think Vance is obviously the guy. Maybe Marco's the next VP. Who knows? But he's not going away, and that's a good thing because he is better than anyone at articulating the Trump worldview. Here he is going at it with that clown from Maryland, Van Hollen, who went, to El Salvador to try to bring the Maryland dad home to the wife that he beats. Here he is beating up on Van Hollen.
Of El Salvador? Absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear in the days to come.
Mr. Chairman,
who you went to
Senator,
I'm sorry,
please,
Mr. Chairman.
Secretary Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated comments like that.
Secretary Rubio has the floor.
Secretary Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court of the United States because he hasn't done it under oath.
Here's another point, okay? There is a division in our government between the federal branch and the judicial branch. No judge and the judicial branch cannot tell me or the president how to conduct foreign policy.
He goes on, explains why they are not, why they're kicking out green card holders, how they don't belong here, they hate this country. He is not backing down. That's so different from Trump's first term. We had people around him, squishy people, compromised people. And here he is, just knockout punch to Van Hollen. I love this. Go ahead.
Our immigration policy should be based on the national interest of the United States, period. End of story. If there is a subset of people that are easier to vet, who we have a better understanding of who they are and what they're going to do when they come here, they're going to receive preference, no doubt about it. There are a lot of sad stories around the world, millions and millions of people around the world. It's heartbreaking. We cannot assume millions and millions of people around the world. No country can. So you have to have a process of deciding who do you prioritize, who do you allow in. We do it all the time. We do it in our immigration system now under our current laws. Unfortunately, it's primarily based on family connection and not on what they're going to contribute to the society from a merit standpoint. That should be changed, but that'll require statutory changes. But the bottom line is this notion that somehow we have to accept anyone who wants to come to the United States is absurd. No country in the world has an immigration policy like that.
That's him on these South Africans. Democrats are really upset because they're letting in some white people. Yeah, we can't have white people in our country. 59 South Africans pissed off the Democrat, not the 15 million unvetted Haitians and Hondurans and people from the Congo. By the way, Trump was right again. Greg Kelly did this last night. I think it was Greg. They did indeed empty the prisons in Congo and send them to our shores. It's documented. Trump was right again. Rubio, Van Hollen said he regretted voting for him. And Rubio said, that means I'm doing a good job. And it just set off Van Hollen. It was great. All right. On the other hand, I want to get to this Elon thing before we wrap this up. This is good. Elon Musk did this weird interview. It was with Bloomberg. And it was from Qatar, but he was on satellite. And it made me sad. Made me kind of sad. Elon sounds, I don't know, defeated in this interview. Get the cut where he talks about contributions. He obviously contributed a lot to Trump and other down ballot candidates. Obviously, it was a good thing. They have Soros and all these other billionaires and all these Spielbergs and Geffens and Clooney's and all these clowns. We got Elon, and it mattered. It was critical. And then he did selfless work as a good American, went in there, tried to make government more efficient, And all they did was attack him, threaten his life, his companies, firebomb his dealerships. And now he said he's pulling back. He's going to go back to Tesla. This is so discouraging. This is so disappointing. We should all be thanking him for his work. Every American should be thrilled that a guy this smart was willing to put his company, put his life on hold to help us make our government more efficient, to root out waste, fraud, and abuse, corruption. And he did it. And then they mocked him, ridiculed him, threatened to kill him. Aside from Trump, hell, they did a poll. Almost half Democrats said they want him dead. It was more than half for Trump, but it was like 46, 47% said they want him dead for what he did. What did he do? Why? Anyway, here he is saying he's pulling back.
Influence. I wondered whether you have decided yet how much you're going to spend on the upcoming midterms. Is it you spent a lot more money on the last US election than you envisaged when you were speaking here 3 years ago? Are you going to continue to spend at that kind of level on future elections?
I think in terms of political spending, I'm going to do a lot less in the future.
And why is that?
I think I've done enough.
Is it because of blowback?
Well, if I see a reason to do political spending in the future, I will do it. I do not currently see a reason.
Okay. What about political influence beyond the US? How often do you speak to President Putin?
I don't speak to President Putin.
You've never spoken to President Putin?
I was on a video call with him once about 5 years ago.
Okay. That's the only.
Why do you think I speak to President Putin? Oh, you must. Oh, I get it.
Because
you
I've
believe
heard
the
you
legacy.
speak. Actually, I've heard you speak about it. For example, in your West Point speech, you said, "Oh, I challenged President Putin to was it an arm wrestle?" And I know the Wall Street Journal has reported your reported conversations.
Oh, yes.
If you're saying they haven't happened other than once, I'll take that as read.
Is there a worse publication on the face of the earth than the Wall Street Journal? I wouldn't use that to line up my cage for paratroopings.
He's good. He's great. But again, it's just why? Why can't we not? He should win every award. He should get the profiles and courage and you name it, every award. He should be honored. We should be grateful. It's disgusting what they did to this man. Disgusting. And he sure sounds like he's pulling back. Like she's right, though. She's right. The blowback was too much. He can't do that to his companies, his customers, put them in jeopardy. So he's pulling back. Do we have that other clip when he points out, by the way, that the head of the president of South Africa is coming to D.C. to meet Trump. I hope Trump goes all in on just pointing out that the guy's a vile racist who's persecuting white people, some of whom are coming here. Elon Musk has pointed this out before. He can't do business in South Africa. Even though he's South African, he's white. And he can't introduce Starlink, his company, which has just done amazing things around the world. They can't do business in South Africa because he's not black. And he points it out and throws it back at this interviewer, something, what's her name? Hussein. And I love when they do this. I love Stephen Miller does it. Just throw it back in their face. Check this out.
Not otherwise. And so now I'm in this absurd situation where I was born in South Africa, but cannot get a license to operate in Starlink because I'm not black.
Well, it looks
Does
like
that
that's
seem
about.
right
It
to
looks
you?
looks
Does
like
that seem
that.
right to you?
Looks like that's about to change.
I just asked you a question. Please answer. Does that seem right to you?
Well, those rules were designed to bring.
Yes or no?
Those rules were designed to bring about an era of more economic equality in South Africa, and it looks like the government has found a way around those rules for you.
I asked you a question.
This is your interview. Everyone wants to hear from you.
I asked you a question. Yes or no?
Not
Racist
for me.
laws, yes or no?
Not for me to answer. I have got a question for you about your government work and the amount of savings.
Why do you like racist laws?
This is not for me to answer. Come on.
Yes, it is.
Now, you wouldn't be trying to dodge a question
You have to
that
ask
is
a question.
difficult
I
for you
answer
to
my
answer.
question. I answer.
Would you?
No, you answer.
A simple question. I can't do business because I'm white. Does that seem right to you? And this hack says, oh, they're trying to change that. Why don't you say, of course it's not right? You know, hopefully they change it. But she can't answer. That's not for me. This is for you. I love when they do that. She is such a hack. You can't answer whether their racist policy of not allowing a native South African to do business because he's not black. You can't answer that, lady. That was good. I hope he continues to do interviews, even if he's not donating to Republicans and helping Trump, you know, in person every day. But it is sad what they did to him. All right, we don't have time to get to Brandon Jackson, mayor of Chicago. It's the best question ever asked of a politician, but I'll tease it for tomorrow. We'll get to Brandon Jackson and Mayor Wu tomorrow because the Trump Civil Rights Division of the DOJ is coming after these racist mayors, and it's about time. It's a great thing, but we got to leave it there for today. We'll see how that meeting with the South African president going. That might be big, Ironhead. Let's keep an eye on that, but I will leave it there for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is The Callahan Show, and we will do it again tomorrow.
And I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
May I respond?
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job.